Hey there and welcome back to Mass Effect 2. My name is Pete and today we complete what could very well be called a wrap-up episode in our Insanity walkthrough, as we will finish things off here on the Citadel by completing one last assignment, and then we'll also complete 2 of the remaining 3 and 7 assignments that can be found scattered across the galaxy. In other words, after this episode we will have only one single assignment left to find on the galaxy map. Everything else can be found on some of the planets we're still going to visit as part of our loyalty missions or the main quest line. So things are slowly progressing towards the end, although of course we still have quite a few things left to complete. Now, in the last episode we completed Garrus' loyalty mission, and that is also why we're still here on the Citadel, because during that mission we found some forged IDs. Our task is now to find someone who might have a use for them, and because we also have already completed Thane's loyalty mission, that certain someone can be found right here on the Citadel if we take a turn to the left after exiting the C-Sec security check.
I can't believe these humans. No fly lists? What did they turn this place into?
I overheard you talking. Having a problem?
It's a private matter.
Well, we're certainly not going to complete this quest by staying out of it, so let's try to help out here.
Give me a chance. I might be able to help.
I don't see why you would. Since your kind gained a seat on the council, they've taken over C-Sec customs. There are hundreds of new security checks and travel restrictions. We've been flagged as a potential risk for Geth infiltration. They won't let us board a ship back to Asari space.
Now, as you can see, we could immediately hand out the forged IDs, but that would earn us renegade points, so we won't do that, and instead we will learn a bit more about the situation.
Why would they consider you a risk? You're obviously not Geth.
I don't know. They wouldn't tell us. We got on a list somewhere for some reason, and they won't tell us anything because it's classified.
Who won't let you board a ship?
I don't know who made the decision. Some pencil pusher at the shuttleport told us. The one outside the C-Sec station?
I'll see if I can get it sorted out.
I'm not holding my breath.
Alright, so back to C-Sec we go in an attempt to solve this at least somewhat legally. The person we have to talk to is at the entrance of Zakira Ward, right where we started this episode.
I'm sorry, sir, but I'll need you to remove any biotic amp you might be wearing.
What? Why?
Unfortunately, sir, biotics can be used as a weapon. The rules require me to confiscate all amps. Could you please hand over yours?
I don't have one. I'm not a biotic.
Oh. Well, when you objected, I thought...
You humans are all racist.
Can I help you, sir?
I talked to a couple of Asari. They say customs won't let them leave the station, but they weren't told why. Can you help me out?
I'm sorry, sir, but all matters related to station security are classified. We can't risk Geth infiltration. Revealing why someone is on a watch list might compromise the safety of C-Sec's undercover agents.
So, couple of options here. We don't have enough renegade points to go with the intimidate option, but we did get reinstated as a Spectre earlier in the series, so we could use that to gain Paragon points. However, I think we should keep our status to ourselves whenever possible, so let's use the Charm option, which will also give us 5 Paragon points.
Did you talk with them? Did they seem like Geth agents to you?
Well, no, but you can never be sure.
Look, miss, I've fought hundreds of Geth. I can assure you that those 2 aren't Geth infiltrators. The lack of flashlight heads was kind of a giveaway.
I'm not saying it makes any sense. Those are the rules I have to enforce. I can't get them cleared, but I can flag the case file for review. That will allow them to travel in the meantime. Is there anything else I can do for you?
I'm fine. Thanks for your help.
Next.
And there we are. That is all we need, so we can return to the 2 Asari and tell them the good news.
So?
Again, we could still go with the forged ID option, and obtaining 5 renegade points here might be worth it compared to the 2 Paragon points we'll grab in just a second, but still, this is a Paragon playthrough, so that's the option we'll pick.
Good news. I convinced them to let you go.
You what? How did you do that?
And here we can get the 2 Paragon points by remaining a little mysterious.
I explained how their methods are flawed. I fought a lot of Geth in my time.
Few have. How unexpected. We should get ready to leave. There should be another ship heading to Thessia tomorrow.
And that's it. Assignment completed. We earned 40 experience points, and in total it was also worth 7 Paragon points. And at this point we have absolutely nothing left to do on the Citadel. All quests are completed, all shops are emptied out, so we can return to the Normandy and leave the place for good.
Commander, you've received a new message at your private terminal.
So, here we are, back on board, and Kelly informs us of a new message. Well, to be precise, it's 2 new messages. The first one here coming from Diana, the mother of the girl that Samara's daughter Morinth killed back on Omega. Diana reveals that Arya got her in touch with us, and she thanks us for avenging her daughter, which we certainly did by siding with Samara in her loyalty mission and letting her kill Morinth. The second message then follows up on Thane's loyalty mission, and it comes from C-Sec's own Captain Bailey, who has taken Thane's son Kolyat under his wings and is trying to make life a little better for some of the less fortunate souls on the Citadel. So it appears that our actions did have at least a small impact, and that is of course nice to hear. Now up next, you may have noticed it already, we have unlocked quite a few research projects during our time on the Citadel, so let's get those underway. In the 2 loyalty missions we completed in the last 2 episodes, we have unlocked a total of 4 new weapon upgrades, the first one being the sniper headshot damage upgrade, probably one of the most useful upgrades for our playstyle that relies quite heavily on the Widow sniper rifle. Up next we have the heavy pistol critical upgrade, an upgrade that allows heavy pistols to occasionally hit for double damage, and I think this is also the only upgrade in the game that does not straight up boost any of the weapon's stats. The remaining 2 upgrades are then in fact pretty straightforward. Both of them are damage upgrades for the pistol and the sniper rifle, and both of them improve the damage output of those respective weapons by 40%. So here we are, research completed, time for a few conversations. We did not yet have a chance to talk to Thane or Garris after the loyalty missions, so let's do that now while those missions are still fresh on our mind, starting with Thane.
You need something?
Have a few minutes to talk?
If you wish.
The last time we talked, you started speaking about a past event, as if you were watching it.
Drell have perfect memories. We can relive any moment in our lives with perfect clarity. It's difficult to control at times. Some of us disappear into, let's call it solipsism.
Now, this right here is not actually the conversation that wraps up Thane's loyalty mission. Instead, we can learn a bit more about his past and about the troubles that a perfect memory brings.
You can remember everything that happened in your life?
Nearly. I expect if we remembered the birth trauma, we'd never recover from it.
What do you mean solipsism?
When a memory feels as real as life, it's as valid as life. Thinking about a moment brings back the smell of cut grass, the warmth of another's hand on yours, the taste of another's tongue in your mouth. Wouldn't you rather lose yourself in such a memory than spend the night alone, staring at walls of metal and plastic?
Isn't that a rather personal memory to talk about?
Forgive me. Lately I've spent a great deal of time reviewing my life. I didn't mean to make you uncomfortable.
Isn't there a risk that you could lose yourself in bad memories as well?
Of course. Remembering the times I've taken bullets is unpleasant. But I can look at my knee and see it's not shattered. The memories that are hard to escape are those of despair.
And considering Thane's line of work, one can assume that he has a fair share of those.
You can relive every assassination you've ever made?
In perfect detail. Every mistake I made. Every target's last breath.
And here we can now obtain the first 2 Paragon points of the conversation by going with the dialogue option at the top.
That sounds difficult. At any moment you could relive the guilt.
Guilt? No. I've never felt any particular guilt about my contracts. My employers killed them. My body was only the tool they used. If you kill a man with your gun, do you hold the gun responsible?
Interesting analogy here that sheds a bit of light onto how Thane views himself, but we will disagree with that viewpoint for 2 more Paragon points.
My gun can't decide right from wrong. You clearly do.
My soul does, but my body is merely flesh. Flesh whose reflexes were honed to kill. Drell minds are different from humans. We see our body as a vessel, and accept that it is not always under our control.
And again, not exactly a perspective that we're going to share. Instead, we will judge it as irresponsible for an additional 2 Paragon points.
So you don't assume any responsibility for the things you do?
Not every action performed by my body is a result of conscious choices. I take responsibility for those that are. Humans often believe in a soul distinct from the body. A spirit responsible for moral reasoning that lives on after the body's death. Our belief is just a bit more literal.
Now, at this point, we can also talk about a memory he shared with us quite a while back, one that had him talk of a very particular person.
The last time we talked, you remembered one of your assassinations. Something about sunset-colored eyes?
That time. Laser dot trembles on the skull. Spice on the spring wind. Sunset eyes, defiant in the scope. A bystander noticed my spotting laser and threw herself between me and the target. She couldn't see me, but she stared me down.
It was odd that you just blurted that out. Just another vivid draw memory?
No. She was a vivid person.
Did you take the shot?
Not that day.
I should get back to my duties.
Shepard, I appreciate these chats we have.
Now, here we could grab 2 Paragon points and end the conversation with the option at the bottom, but let's instead extend our talk a bit further with the option at the top.
You've spent a lot of your life alone, Thane.
Work fulfilled me. Reading. I barely spoke to anyone outside my family. It seems there will be no one to mourn me when I die. You're the only friend I've made in 10 years.
And here we can now make up for the 2 Paragon points we skipped a second ago. Both the top and the middle option work for that, and we're going with the top simply because it's the nicer thing to say in my mind.
The rest of us lose as much as you do when you hold yourself apart.
I found it difficult to sit in the ship's mess for meals. I'm used to keeping my back against a wall, facing the doors. I'm trying to relax. Find my center.
So there we are, 8 Paragon points richer. Now we want to talk to Garris and see how he is dealing with the aftermath of his encounter with the Turian Sidonis.
Shepard, need me for something?
Have you got a minute?
Sure, just killing time anyway. I wanted to thank you again for your help with Sidonis. Whatever happens with the Collectors or the Reapers or whoever else comes after us, I know you'll get the job done.
Now, we can only hope that we do not actually meet someone else trying to destroy the universe, but who knows, maybe Garris has a bit more information than we do.
You actually think we'll find something worse than Collectors or Reapers?
I like to expect the worst. There's a small chance I'll be pleasantly surprised.
And here we can also personally tell Garris that we appreciate him, although somewhat surprisingly I'd say, this does not actually earn us any morality points.
I couldn't do this without you, Garris.
Sure you could. Not as stylishly, of course. It's strange going into a suicide mission on a human ship. Your people don't prepare for high-risk operations the way Turians do.
And here we can now learn a bit more about Turian culture and about Garrus's past as well.
I thought you'd be used to high-risk operations on human ships. I mean, think about tracking Sarah into Ilos.
Sure, but that was quick. We raced out, landed, blew up some Geth, and saved the galaxy. This time we've got Miranda and Cerberus and that AI all telling us what we're up against. I think I preferred blind optimism.
How do Turian crews get ready for high-risk missions?
With violence, usually. Turian ships have more operational discipline than your alliance, but fewer personal restrictions. Our commanders run us tight, and they know we need to blow off steam. Turian ships have training rooms for exercise, combat sims, even full-contact sparring. Whatever lets people work off stress.
You mean Turian ships have crewmen fighting each other before a mission?
It's supervised, of course. Nobody's going to risk an injury that interferes with the mission, and it's a good way to settle grudges amicably. I remember right before one mission, we were about to hit a Batarian pirate squad. Very risky. This recon scout and I had been at each other's throats. Nerves, mostly. She suggested we settle it in the ring.
I assume you took her down gently?
Actually, she and I were the top-ranked hand-to-hand specialists on the ship. I had reach, but she had flexibility. It was brutal. After 9 rounds, the judge called it a draw. There were a lot of unhappy bettors in the training room. We ended up holding a tiebreaker in her quarters. I had reach, but she had flexibility. More than one way to work off stress, I guess.
So, 2 more questions remain. Both of them are fairly deep talk, if you will, but with Garris, I think that's just the way a conversation should go at this point.
Do you ever regret leaving CSEC or the Turian military?
Not for a minute. When it comes down to it, Shepard, I don't think I'm a very good Turian. When a good Turian hears a bad order, he follows it. He might complain, but he knows his place. I just don't see the point in staying quiet and polite. Not when the galaxy is at stake.
Honestly, Garrus, what do you think our chances are?
Honestly? The Collectors killed you once, and all they did is piss you off. I can't imagine they'll stop you this time. But an unmapped area, advanced technology, and the Collectors. We're going to lose people. No way around that. Not a happy analysis, I know. Don't worry. I won't spread it around. And I'm with you regardless.
Thanks for the talk, Garrus. I'll see you later.
Sure thing.
And here we are, another conversation wrapped up, and now it's time for some action. What we'll do for the rest of the episode is to complete 2 short assignments that are connected to each other. One of them will actually reveal a brand new star system, so let's return to the CIC and fire up the galaxy map.
Grunt seems very agitated. You may want to check in on him.
First up, we will leave the Widow system and travel over to the Hourglass Nebula, because as you can see, we have not fully explored that cluster yet. We arrive in the Osun system, the system where the prison ship Purgatory was located until we recruited Jack, and for some reason, I actually don't know why, we have not yet explored the system, so let's get to it. The first planet we visit is Olokun, a fairly unremarkable gas giant with moderate mineral deposits, but definitely not a prime target for mining in this system. Quite a bit more interesting is then Erinley, a garden world near the center that is home to a large Solarian colony, and apart from that, it also harbors a vast amount of palladium and, even more importantly, around 8,000 units of Element Zero. Even closer to the sun is then Oron Mila, another gas giant, and once again not an overly exciting one. You can find small amounts of the 3 minerals here, but nothing that really calls for a stop. Our fourth and final target is then the rock planet Aganju, and this one could be of interest if you're looking for palladium, as about 14 to 15,000 units worth of the stuff can be found here. And that's all. That is the Osun system surveyed, and with that, the Hourglass Nebula can be marked off as completed. Our next target is now the Crescent Nebula. We arrive in the Tassale system, but our business lies elsewhere, specifically in the faraway Ondeste system. This one can be surveyed quickly and is really not too remarkable. There are only 3 planets in here, all of them have moderate amounts of minerals, but no Element Zero. On Zizmini, the second planet we're visiting here, we can find a pretty decent amount of platinum, while the other 2 planets are a little more heavy on the palladium side of things. All in all, I would say there is a reason we haven't been here yet, as the system really only offers something for completionists or pilots desperate for even only a few minerals. And with Ondeste completed, we can now head over to Luzarn.
Fuel reserves at 50%.
Now, this system is a little bit more interesting because we will in just a moment find our first assignment here, but for now we start things off with the gas giant Jontan. And as pretty much all of the gas giants that came before, there really isn't anything special about this one, so we won't stay long. Our second stop is then Ion Tanta, a very hot planet that could be of interest if you're looking for palladium, of which there is a decent amount here. That is all, however, so we move on to Dorie, and the story here is a very similar one. The planet is pretty hot, although not as hot as Ion Tanta, and mineral-wise it offers a good amount of palladium, and that's about it. So, moving on to planet number 4, and this would be the gas giant Xetic, and to no one's surprise, the violet-blue color of this planet is arguably its most interesting feature. The mineral deposits are definitely nothing to get excited about.
I have detected an anomaly.
And with that, we have made it to Tarith. Now, ED detects an anomaly here, but apart from the mission waiting for us, Tarith itself comes with a good supply of minerals, including an Element 0 deposit, so scanning the planet for more than just the anomaly might be worth it.
We're just waiting on the weapons at this point. They'll never know what hit them. The Vortex are hungry for battle. We're just waiting on the weapons at
Probe away. Something on our sensors.
Now, we will be satisfied with just the one probe here, which picks up a blood pack mercenary signal, as well as an unknown species. So, let's get down there and see what's going on. Since we're about to meet Armored Bloodpack, we'll take Morden and his Incinerate ability, as well as Grunt, who has incendiary ammo. With 2 squad points, we can level up Shepard's concussive shot, as I am personally not a big fan of cryo ammo, and we wouldn't be able to max it out anyway with only 7 levels left until we hit the level cap. With Morden, we will save our points until he's loyal and we can max out Neural Shock, and with Grunt, we don't have enough points to do anything here. In terms of weaponry, we will switch Shepard back from the Incisor to the Widow Sniper Rifle. The Incisor is really not that great in my opinion, and we already tried it out in the last episode.
May serve as a navigational contingency.
So here we are on the foggy surface of Tarith. That tall beacon tower in the distance is where we need to go, but we have a few things to take care of before we get there.
What happened here? Problematic.
First of all, in this abandoned outpost here, we can find a datapad that shows an order from someone named Salamul, who is commanding his workers to move on to the other mining sites. That could explain why we didn't run into anyone yet, but we can still use the beacon over here, which then marks the rough direction that we need to take.
Toxin concentrations exceeding safe levels. Proceeding with caution.
Down the slope here we find another beacon, the signal from the first one pointing towards it, and this one points us to the right, further into the fog. We can't do much more than to follow, and as we do, we stumble upon some bugs on the ground, and a few seconds later we meet our first enemy. Now, Morden's Incinerate ability immediately strips away the armor and gets us one step closer to the Incineration Specialist achievement, and using incendiary ammo, getting the kill afterwards doesn't take too long. Now, we'll talk a bit more about these Klixen in a moment. For now, we can see the beacon pointing us towards the right, but we'll go left instead to acquire 400 units of platinum from the rock over here. Then we can go back, but at the next intersection we will go left again, but not before we have watched a mysterious creature flying away. Down the path here we don't find anything yet until we run into another Klixen.
Incoming!
Once again, Morden takes care of the armor, and with that we now have 16 armor incinerations in this playthrough. Most of them came way back in episode 16, and we need 25 for the achievement, so we still have a bit of a way to go. Once the Klixen is down, we can continue down the path and then turn right onto a small stone bridge, from where we can also see the next enemy. The procedure is the same here, but this Klixen has brought backup, so we can only incinerate the armor of one enemy before we have to take the other one down the old-fashioned way. And due to the numerous intersections in this area, AI pathfinding is also not ideal, which results in Morden getting temporarily killed here, because for some reason he did not follow us but instead took a different path. Once the enemies are down, Morden gets back up though, and we can go back the way we came and take a right, which eventually brings us to another mineral deposit worth 400 units of platinum. At this point we can then continue to go right until we arrive at the next intersection. Now, down to the right here, that is where we would have come from had we not taken that short detour a few moments ago, so there is no point heading down there now. Instead we can follow the beacon and continue climbing upwards. This eventually gets us to another abandoned outpost, and just like the previous one, this one has a beacon and a datapad waiting for us.
Signs of recent fighting.
The datapad is another message from Salamul, who is now ordering his workers to evacuate because of those damn bugs. If you ask me, a very sensible decision. Now, those damned bugs are actually a brand new type of enemy that we have not yet faced neither in this game nor in the entire series for that matter, and not only do they look somewhat similar to the Ragni, their combat behavior is also quite similar as they possess a medium-range fire breath attack, and they're also formidable close-range fighters who can be deadly in melee combat. Now, that mysterious flying creature is back, once again taking off into the fog here, and we have taken a left turn into another mineral-filled dead end. With 400 units of platinum more in our backpack, we go back the way we came and then continue up this short incline here, and even though it looks like it, there is no path to the right here, so left is the only way to go, following the beacon. And just as we get close to the next one, we run into more Klixen. Another incinerate, and we're up to 18 removed bars of armor, only 7 remain, and we do in fact get another chance in this fight right here, because this Klixen also had company, and this time it brought 2 friends, so Morden's incinerate ability should be good to go again for enemy number 3. And indeed it is, and our companion did not go down in the meantime, so that's to counter up to 19, and we can activate the next beacon. A little off to the side here, we can also find some ammo and another datapad. This time, however, the message is addressed to Salamul, who receives info from Kalusk, who refuses Salamul's request for more Vorcha, stating that Garm on Omega has his own problems, and he definitely did, as we learned during Garris' recruitment mission in episode 8. I have linked that episode on screen right here in case you want to rewatch it and freshen up your memory on who Garm actually is. Now, the message here is actually kind of interesting because it suggests that Salamul was losing Vorcha for some reason, and we definitely know why he did, but Kalusk only assumed that the Vorcha were too stupid to find their way through the fog and suggested the beacon path that we are now following. By the way, going a little bit off that path allows us to grab another platinum deposit and some ammunition before we then go back and up the hill. Going up is also a very useful thing on this map because the fog is more heavily concentrated in the lower sections and valleys, so visibility is much better up here. On the left here we can then find another beacon console. This one looks damaged lying on the ground, but it still works and guides us forward, down again and deeper into the fog. Two more Klixen wait for us at the end of the path. Only one is visible right now, but the other one will emerge from the shadows in just a second. This gives us another opportunity to increase the Incineration Specialist counter, so we're up to 20 now, only 5 more remain. Right behind the 2 fallen enemies we then have another crossroads, and we're taking the left path again, which eventually brings us to the final datapad of this mission. Here we can read from Kalusk again, who is getting impatient with Salamul's lack of progress, although with the information we have, it is understandable why Salamul did not really have much success with his mining camp. Now moving on, we reach another intersection, and while the path to the left is where we eventually want to go, let's go right first, because that is where the next beacon needs to be activated. Once we have done so, we want to get a move on and sprint up the hill here as we encounter our first group of Bloodpack Vorcha. However, as you can see, they can be decimated in just a few seconds, and doing so is actually advisable, because one of them had a rocket launcher. He doesn't get to fire that, but we get Incinerate number 21, some ammunition and another platinum crate. And with those 2 enemies down, who may or may not have gotten lost in the fog, now it is time to head back down and follow the light of the beacon. And as you can see, we are getting close to that large beacon tower we saw at the beginning of the mission, and as we activate the smaller beacon over here, we can see it guides us right towards that structure, so we are getting closer to the end. And now, if you listen carefully, you might be able to hear sounds of a firefight in the background, foreshadowing one last bit of resistance. Now at this point I would advise plopping down a manual save, as things might get interesting in a few seconds. As we move around the corner here we can see a shuttle taking off, and at this point we want to advance very carefully. After a few seconds, we will run into the Krogan Salamul himself, and at this point we want to retreat. As you can imagine, Salamul is not here by himself, but his Bloodpack allies will gladly stay back and in cover while the Krogan shows typical Krogan behavior. And that behavior can be exploited to make this fight a whole lot easier, as we can focus all of our firepower and abilities on Salamul himself, while his companions stay out of the line of fire entirely. Once his armor is down, Salamul can be knocked down to the ground with a concussive shot, and at that point he is as good as dead. Now we can wait for our health and shields to recharge before we then slowly peek around the corner again. Since we're going up against not one but two rocket launching enemies, it is also a good idea to use the rocks for cover when they get too close, as dodging the rockets in the open can be somewhat tricky. Eventually, making the switch over to the sniper rifle is probably the best choice in this scenario, as the Vorcha do not stand a chance against a single well-placed shot. We can also land another Incinerate here, increasing the counter to 22, and that leaves only 2 more enemies who should not be a problem. 2 more headshots, another Incinerate, and all hostiles are defeated, so we can now shut down the Bloodpack communication relay and complete the mission. And there we are, assignment completed. Our rewards are the usual for a short mission of this caliber. We earn 125 experience points, 7,500 credits and 2,000 units of platinum.
Commander, you've received a new message at your private terminal.
Back on the Normandy, we are then informed of yet another message, and this one actually has to do with the mission we just finished, as the data recovered from the communication relay has been decrypted and is linking to another Bloodpack operation. We are also informed here that the Bloodpack are apparently planning a large-scale invasion, and I would say that is reason enough to check out that base right away. So with that one mission behind us, we hop right back into the galaxy map. The Crescent Nebula is completely surveyed, so we're now making our way to the mass relay. Before we leave the system, however, we can also refuel the Normandy, because eventually we will of course need to do more exploring. Now, unlocking this mission has also unlocked a brand new cluster in the Shrike Abyssal, so let's go there and see what we can find. The Shrike Abyssal can, by the way, also be unlocked by purchasing a star chart on Ilium, but doing it this way saves us a few credits. Now, there are only 2 systems in here, and we'll be satisfied with exploring the first one for now, and our tour through that one starts with the gas giant Vem Oscar. And yeah, this one follows the trend of gas giants in this episode. There is absolutely no need to stop and send out probes on this one, so let's move on to the next planet. And that would be Afras, a planet that was apparently once home to an avian species, but after a planet-wide extinction event, all that is left are single-celled organisms in the sea. Mineral-wise, the planet also does not intrigue too much. Yes, there are a few thousand units of all 3 minerals available here, but those can also be recovered more efficiently elsewhere. And one such place would, for example, be Tozal Nim. Once a garden world, this planet has also lost the majority of its life. What remains, however, are vast amounts of iridium as well as a nice deposit of element 0. And that brings us now to Zadaban, a planet that we can land on immediately, but one that you might want to survey first, because not only are there about 10 to 11,000 units worth of palladium on this one, no, there is also once again a good amount of element 0 to be found. We are not concerned with that, however, so let's touch down and take care of the Bloodpack. Our squad will be the very same as it was in the last mission. We are still trying to get the Incineration Specialist achievement, so Morton comes along as well as Grunt. We did not level up, so we do not have any new squad points to spend, and our weapon loadout will also remain the same for this one, so we don't really have to prepare anything here and are good to go.
I am detecting a large power source inside the base. It is probable that destroying it would disrupt the entire facility.
Right, so Edie informs us of what our goal should be, but in order to destroy the facility, we of course need to get inside first. On our way, we can once again find a datapad, and this time it is Kalusk receiving a message from Salamul, who is sending over 2 Vulture as proof of the ineptitude of his servants, probably in response to Kalusk refusing to help. A little further on the ledge here, we then find a crate of palladium, and once we've grabbed that, we can already prepare for combat. With the sniper rifle, we can get the drop on a single Vulture hiding in cover here, but once the shot is fired, we want to get into cover ourselves, because now things are heating up. Now, as you can see, we have a rather large group of Vulture below us, and normally I am a big fan of using the high ground to our advantage, but those beams in the middle and the abundance of cover around the Vulture might actually make it easier to go down there and take them on face to face. It is of course far from impossible to clear out the group from up here. It is definitely very useful to avoid getting overrun, but aiming can be a bit tricky. Now from up here we can also launch another Incinerate, getting us up to number 24, so only one more is left until the Incineration Specialist achievement is unlocked. Once the enemies are taken out, we can then go down there ourselves. Again, this would have been possible at any point in the fight as well, and depending on your playstyle, it might actually be the preferred approach. We meet one more lone Bloodpack Trooper down here, but finish him off quickly, and believe it or not, that is about 1/3 of the mission already completed. Over in the corner we can find more palladium and another datapad. On it, just another part of the conversation between Kalusk and Salamul. Here we can read how Salamul is asking for Garm's Vorcha from Omega. We also already know Kalusk's answer to that, so let's keep moving on. We approach a natural bridge across the canyon with a medkit on it, and once we have grabbed that, or more precisely the credits inside, we quickly want to find cover as more Vorcha are approaching. Here we can also finally get Incinerate number 25, unlocking the Incineration Specialist achievement. Now we only have the Brawler achievement left, for which we also only need one more punch and shoot combo. Throughout the fight, we also want to pay attention to the rocket shooting Vorcha up on the small ledge over here. Those can do a decent amount of damage and should be taken out as soon as they appear. All in all though, this fight is once again not too challenging, and with a bit of patience and good accuracy, the Vorcha should be quickly eliminated. And with that, we are now about to enter what is already the third and final firefight of this mission, and it is waiting for us right behind the door here. In here we find a few more Bloodpack troopers as well as the Krogan Kalusk himself. Just like Salamul, Kalusk has 2 layers of protection, only instead of barriers he is sporting shields. Those are arguably a little easier to take out since we have access to disruptor ammo, and also unlike Salamul, Kalusk only has a pistol and not a shotgun. Overall, I would say that makes him the easier of the 2 Krogan to defeat. Keep in mind though that evading his Vorcha is not as easy as it was with Salamul. However, as you can see, and much to our advantage, Kalusk seems much more focused on our squad members than on Shepard, and especially in the case of Grunt, those squad members can withstand quite a bit of punishment, which allows us to quickly wear the Krogan down. For the kill, I actually went for another punch and shoot combo, but I pressed the melee key too early, and so only the bullet hits. Luckily though, there is another rocket-wielding Vorcha in this area, so let's try that whole thing again. And once again we fail because the Vorcha doesn't actually stagger back, so the Brawler achievement remains open.
Interesting. Suggest taking a closer look.
Now before we blow up the facility, we want to grab the last palladium container over here, and then we can take aim at these containment cells. However, before we detonate them all, we want to make sure to already move towards the exit, because once the last one explodes, we want to get out of here, and quickly.
Now what's this?
And there we are, facility destroyed, mission completed. We dealt another big blow to the Bloodpack, and for our efforts we earned 125 experience points, as well as a heavy weapon ammo upgrade that cannot be found anywhere in this mission but is simply awarded for completing it. Our rewards are then topped off with the usual stuff, 7,500 credits, 2,000 units of palladium, nothing out of the ordinary here. And so here we are back on the Normandy at the end of a rather eventful episode. We have completed 3 assignments, 2 crew member conversations and an achievement. I would say that is plenty of progress for one episode, so let's make the cut right here. I already have a few minor plans for the next episode, but until then I hope you enjoyed this one, and if you did, then I would be very happy if you could leave a thumbs up. If you want to support me and my channel further, then you can of course do so either by subscribing or by checking out and maybe even pledging to the Pete Complete Patreon. In any case though, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.